You have a podcast worth listening to, yet every time you record remote guests, they sound like they're situated in some sort of underwater cathedral, which is very frustrating. The good news is that you don't really need a fancy mic like this or post-production wizardry. I helped dozens of creators fix this very issue, and today I will show you 3 simple things that make a huge difference. If you don't know me, I'm Sebastian. I'm a longtime podcast editor, music producer, and audio branding sound strategist. But more than anything, I love helping creators just like you feel confident about how their content sounds. So if you want your guests to sound like pros, even if they haven't been on a podcast before and don't own a fancy mic, let's get into it. A little spoiler, the third layer is talking about mics, headphones, the gear side of things. But without the first and second layer, this kind of crumbles. And at the end of the video, you will understand why. So the first layer is the recording platform you choose. That's where most issues start, that you maybe use Zoom, Google Meets, or Teams to record your podcast. They play a huge role in creating that underwater sound because they compress the audio heavily. But what you want instead is a local recording and then uploading to the cloud solution. So the best options out there right now are Riverside, which is great for podcasters who care about high quality audio, but also high quality video and want some simple editing features. The second one is Descript. That's great for people who edit their podcast quite a lot in the post-production. And last but not least is Zencastr. They have a completely free plan, and I would suggest that's the best solution for beginners that want to focus on audio only. Just switching to one of these platforms can immediately fix 70% of remote audio problems. To underline that, I have a little story of a client of mine. He had a $30 Amazon mic and he was not happy with how his podcast sounded. And he was like, in which microphone should I invest? And then we found out he was recording on Google Meets. So we transitioned to a professional platform, in his case, Descript. And he's still recording with the $30 Amazon mic because he's totally happy with the quality he has now. Now we implemented the ground layer with the recording platform. Let's build on that with the second area, which is the room selection, where you record, basically. The reason why this plays such a big role is that mics are really neutral. They just pick up whatever they can hear. And if you are in a room where there's a lot of reverb and a lot of background noise, this is all audio clutter that is basically fighting for attention beside your voice or your guest's voice and makes it harder to listen. In a not submerged cathedral, for example, if you talk to someone that is standing 10 steps away from you, you cannot understand them anymore because the reverb is so overwhelming. The more we can lower the reverb and raise the input of our voice, the easier it will be to understand. Music recording studios have all these panels on the walls, right? These are basically designed to swallow all the reverb, to isolate the voice. But we don't need fancy absorbers to get a great sound. We can also, by just understanding how reverb works, pick the right room and have a good audio recording. Reverb is basically only the reflections of your voice bouncing back from the walls, the ceiling, and the floor. The bigger the room is, the longer the reflection takes to bounce back to you, and therefore the longer the reverb is. The bigger the reverb sounds, you could even say. Now, the smaller the room is, the shorter these reflections have to travel. You always want to advise for recording in the smallest room. And flat walls and surfaces reflect sound way better than, for example, rooms that have a lot of fabric, furniture, plants, curtains, rugs in them. So you not only want to find the smallest room, but also the room that is the most fluffy. That's how we get rid of reverb. Now, What we haven't tackled is background noise. And background noise can be everything from having a window open, having the fan, the AC on, having not turned your devices into flight mode or silent mode. Also, something we tend to forget is what chair are we sitting on? Is it a squeaky chair or not? These are kind of just things you just have to think about before the recording, and that's why I did the checklist in the description, where you just can go prior to every recording over the checklist and see, true, I forgot about closing the windows, for example. Okay, so now we have the ground layer with the recording platform, and we have built on that with the room selection. Now for the third and final layer, that is microphones, but more specifically mic technique. Because I told you in the beginning, you don't need a fancy mic, right? Because a really expensive mic can sound very bad when you use it the wrong way. For example, if I put this mic too far away, it will probably sound not so good anymore. But if I position it right again, which is basically mic technique in a nutshell, it sounds better. On the flip side, even the cheapest mic, like a $30 Amazon mic, can sound great if you made sure layer 1 and 2 are taken care of. Let's get into what a proper microphone technique is, but maybe before that, in every situation, you and your guest should wear headphones. Because that way you isolate your voice, and as we established, microphones are neutral. They just pick up everything they can hear. And if your guest is talking through the speakers, that is getting picked up by the microphone and creates echo. So always wear headphones. Now, what if my guests don't have an external microphone? The solution is sometimes if they do have some of these headphones, wearing headphones with integrated microphones like these. It's definitely way better than just using the integrated microphone of a laptop or computer. And I hear that nowadays these are even quite cool again. But if they don't have headphones with a microphone, then I strongly recommend using your phone, or they should use their phone. And the best technique seems to be to take books and pile them in front of you, or they should then pile them in front of them, and place the phone using the voice memo app chest height 2 hand widths apart from their mouth, with the bottom facing their mouth, because that's where the microphones are. Let's recap. Always wear headphones. If they have headphones with the integrated microphone, that's great. If they don't, they should just position their phone and record the whole conversation on their phone and just send it to you afterwards. But now let's talk about if they do have an external microphone and what they should focus on. Well, the first thing I would always say is to always make sure they selected their external microphone as input. I've had, not to say a lot, but definitely a few episodes now I had to edit where the guests just forgot to select it as the right input. So that's step 1. The second step is to position the microphone right. 1 hand width seems to be the sweet spot for most microphones, away from the mouth. But then the important thing is to angle it. The reason behind it is that when we talk, we create wind, basically. And if you think about recording a voice note and you're outside and it's windy, most of the time the voice memo is blown out, right? It's really hard to listen to. And that's basically what happens when wind hits the microphone, because it clips, especially when we do P and T and S sounds. We move a lot of air. If you try that, you can really feel it on your hand. And the microphone basically gets these little winds. And if we talk straight into the mic, it's way more prone to plosives. That's the professional word, I guess. So that's why we just angle it at a 45-degree angle facing the mouth and then talk past the microphone. That way we still get a great recording, but don't run into the risk of having a lot of plosives or harsh S sounds. Another common thing that happens when you're not so experienced with using an external mic is, for example, Blue Yeti mics don't really make it so obvious where the front and the back side is of the microphone. So if they do have one of these microphones that are not clearly facing towards one direction, do like a little tap test, because the active side basically always picks up way more noise when you listen to the recording. Let me tell you a little story of a client of mine who had a 200,000 subscriber YouTube channel, and he was super unhappy with the quality of his voiceovers. And he came to me asking, what mic should I get, basically? It turns out, after analyzing his complete process and audio recordings, that it wasn't his mic. It was rather background noise issues and mic technique issues. So we got rid of all the background noise and worked on his microphone technique, and now he has double the amount of subscribers and people even comment on his great sound. Okay, let's do a little recap. We built the foundation layer by choosing the right recording platform. The second layer, choosing the right surroundings to record in, making sure reverb and background noise are as low as possible. And then the third and final layer, making sure to use external microphones, headphones, your phone properly, and just make the best out of what you have. Again, all these tips are in one checklist that you can just send out to your guests. This is what I give my clients, what my clients use, and that will save you so much back and forth and basically defend you against bad sounding guests in the future. You can find that for free in the description. If you want personal help, I do offer one-on-one sessions. You can book them in the second link. And if you haven't had enough of me talking about audio stuff, here's another video you can watch. See you there.